Calaroga Shark Media.
A big thank you to Jay Leno. Hi, I'm Johnny Mack with your Daily Comedy News. John, why are you thanking Jay Leno? Because right now, in my world, it's Thursday, and I wanted to go to the beach on Friday and pre-tape Monday, and I was like, I don't have enough stories for Monday. And then I saw Jay Leno spoke to Deadline, the headline, Death of Late Night, Jay Leno on what went wrong at 11:30, why Joe Rogan is the new Johnny Carson, and how John Oliver doesn't know what he's talking about. How about that? Thank you, Jay Leno. I have not read this article at all, so I'm just going to dive in cold and see what Jay Leno, who some people say is the worst person who ever lived, has to say. The 76-year-old comic said, podcasts really are the new talk show. Joe Rogan is the new Johnny Carson. Let's do this piece by piece. Deadline. With all that's going on in late night now, your exit in 2014 looks like a prophetic move. Jay Leno laughs, says, that's pretty funny. You know, I made my living as a stand-up comic. TV's a job that either lasts 13 weeks or less. Okay, I was lucky. Mine lasted 22 years. But the day The Tonight Show ended, I was back on the road the next night in Florida for 5 nights, and that's what I do now. So for me, nothing's really changed. People always think, how's retirement? Well, I'm not retired. I do 200 dates a year. And I do think I do a good show. I got a few other things going on, like the garage show that I enjoy. I have a good life after late night. Leno told the story of being dropped by his agent. It's funny, because I was so fortunate that my agent dropped me right before I got The Tonight Show in 1992. I later worked it out. I saved $30 million in commissions. I said, all right, fine with me, you know? I'm one of those people, when anybody wants to break up with me, I don't plead. I go, fine, okay, you're cool. And that was the same thing, with the agent. I remember the same thing happened when I was in The Tonight Show and they're going to replace me with Conan. And they called me and I said, I did number one for like 17 years. One of the executives says, we want what's above number one. And I go, okay, what's above number one? I just started to laugh and then I realized how stupid the statement was. I said, you want me out? I'm out. Fine. And then I was out. Deadline said, it wasn't pretty, I remember. You think, Deadline? Jay Leno said, yeah, but then what happened was Craig Ferguson came along and he started beating Conan. Then I got a call from Jeff Zucker saying, I think I made a mistake. Whoa. Is that new information? I don't recall. I'll have to check with the cool late night kids. I don't remember hearing that before, that Jeff Zucker said, I think I made a mistake. Because if I'm reading this right, he's talking about Craig beating Conan, so that's a 12:30 war. So did Jeff say that at 12:30? Anyway, I got a call from Jeff Zucker saying, I think I made a mistake. Jay Leno said, yeah, I told you. Zucker said, would like to have you back. Okay, fine, I'll come back wherever you want. I don't have a manager. I don't have a full-time agent. I negotiate everything myself. All right, so that puts the timeline back to 11:30 being a mistake. Deadline goes, Jay, dude, why bother at this point? Who needs the stress? Jay said, yeah, I know, it's really stupid. Then again, I have a house in Beverly Hills, so it's working out. That's pretty funny. The nice thing about doing your own negotiations, you find out exactly how people feel. The client might say, Leno sucks, I can't stand that guy. If you have an agent doing your negotiations, what you hear is, oh, he likes you, he just doesn't have anything for you right now. Yeah, sure. Okay, Deadline says, with Stephen Colbert gone, Jimmy Kimmel thriving but under threat, and everyone looking over their corporate shoulder for attacks from Donald Trump, their own bosses, or Greg Gutfeld, why do you think late night lost its swagger? Leno said, it's boring, but here's the thing I think hurt late night the most. Too many commercials. They passed some new rules before my tenure at The Tonight Show that after 11:30 at night, you could add like another 5 or 6 minutes to the hour. It came in waves, but by the end of my time at The Tonight Show, instead of doing like 48 minutes a show, it was only like 42 and broken up more. So when I turn on late night now, regardless of how I'm watching, if I say Jake from State Farm again, I'm going to shoot myself in the effing head. Jay, language, Jay. It's like, geez, the host comes out, does the monologue, then right away over to 6 minutes of commercials. You come back, the host talks about who's coming up, and we'll be right back, and so on. It's all cut up. Enough already. Why watch that when I could switch over to streaming or YouTube, and I can watch an hour with Harrison Ford talking off the top of his head as opposed to having just a few minutes with the guest or with the host, Johnny used to have real conversations. I tried to have real conversations. That seems to be gone, and the audience knows it. It's not that people are better or worse. It's the fact that the whole medium has changed. The idea that you have to turn the TV on at 11:30 p.m. to hear what's being said, like appointment television, that sounds ridiculous now. So I don't want to make it sound like Leno went on a rant there. Deadline said devil's advocate. Why? Leno then continued. Because you can watch TV whenever you want now. You can watch whatever show, whatever you want, so that's really ruined it. There's no immediacy. People used to say, oh, let's see what David Letterman, whoever had to say about the president's thing today. It's interesting he said, let's see what David Letterman had to say. What a really, really interesting name to drop there, right? Because most people sharing that notion would say, oh, let's see what Carson has to say about the president. But Jay Leno specifically name-checking David Letterman. Oh, let's see what David Letterman, whoever had to say about the president's thing today, and you and the whole world simultaneously at 11:30 knew what they thought. Now you can look it up anytime. My brain froze there. I'm not going to make the edit. My brain froze there because he said David Letterman, then he said 11:30. Arguably, Jay Leno could be talking about somebody watching Late Night with David Letterman at 11:30 Central, but I think most of us associate pre-Leno David Letterman with 12:30. Very, very interesting. Now you can look it up anytime. Whenever you watch it, if you miss it, that's okay, So what's really changed? Skipping ahead, podcasts really are the new talk shows. Joe Rogan is the new Johnny Carson. Yeah, Joe talks to everybody about everything. There's no FCC to step in and say what you can and can't say. So you really do get an unfiltered idea of what everybody thinks. So yeah, to me, that's what's also changed late night. I talk to young people. They don't know CBS, NBC, ABC, Channel 4. They just go to YouTube, which is amazing. If you had predicted YouTube would be the most popular channel in the world 10 years ago, I think people would have said, what are you talking about? But it is now. I teach college students. He's correct. They don't think of TV brands the same way us oldies do. 10 years ago, I don't think the YouTube notion was crazy. Maybe we'll change the time on there, but I get what Jay's saying. All right, I've done about 8 minutes on Jay Leno. There's more there. Let's save a little more for tomorrow, right? You can read this on Deadline if you can't wait for tomorrow. Bill Carter on the Late Nighter website had the headline, Outside Tonight Rebuilds Late Night for the YouTube Crowd. This was a fluff piece of sorts about the new YouTube show Outside Tonight, hosted by Julian Shapiro Barnum. Well, Bill Carter, I got news for you, buddy. When I looked Thursday at noon, Outside Tonight had 6,000 views. I can get 6,000 views, and that's without YouTube promoting me. 6,000? Yikes. That's even less than who's the other guy? I forgot that guy's name. Josh Gleib, is that his name? Ben Gleib. Ben Gleib had like 20,000 views. Let's see how Ben Gleib is doing. Okay, Good Night with Ben Gleib. The channel has 2.91 million subscribers. That's not too shabby. And something has changed, friends. Wow, I'm stunned by this number I'm about to tell you. So episode 3 has at 2:23 p.m. on Thursday, 541,000 views. So this thing has caught on a little bit. That's a real number. It's a much bigger number than 6,000. So the algorithm must have been kind. All right, we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Josh Johnson had a big piece with Variety. They talked about how Josh puts out just about an hour every week, every Tuesday on YouTube. He's racked up 500 million views. Josh told Variety, I don't even think what I'm doing would be advisable necessarily. I see why people say you're leaving a lot on the table or giving it away for free, but this is what I want to be doing, and it's pushed me to get better. He talked about the New York Knicks. There was one game when Jose Alvarado crashed into Mike Bloomberg. Josh said, we almost got rid of a billionaire out of nowhere. Everybody's always planning, hiring security. Who would have thought they would have gotten themselves killed? Variety got a little poetic here, writing, Johnson's comedic style is highly expressive and his voice, nasal with a southern inflection, leaps across octaves and volume levels. He's a physical performer, one who can tell the same story 4 or 5 ways, peppering in new insights each time. His material ranges from political to trivial. A bit about the absurdity of the Iran war might be followed by one about revolving doors. Johnson, it seems, is highly approachable. Maybe it's because he's in our living rooms talking directly to us as a Daily Show host, or maybe it's because when he greets you, his mouth curls into a boyish smile and his voice slides into a higher register, like Mickey Mouse if he grew up on the bayou. That's a description. Variety flexes a bit and says it's 11:15 now, and we've Ubered to an overpriced sushi joint in Soho for late dinner. Fancy. I ask him where that 15 minutes of material he just did in the club will go. Josh says, I don't really know. Maybe I'll hold on to it and do it again somewhere. Maybe I won't. Variety says, most comics wouldn't dream of bringing 15 minutes of all new material to a club and leaving it there, but Johnson is a stranger to the scarcity mindset. He says, I write 125 jokes a day, and that's all to hopefully get 3 on air. You learn not to be precious, and you learn that you have more in the tank than you think. He's asked if he'll wake up one day with nothing to say. Josh says, that would be like if you woke up and went to work and were worried you were going to run out of words. Out today on the 800-pound gorilla, it's Willie Mack's Good Dad, Bad Father. Bert Kreischer was promoted by Flamingo Magazine, your home for comedy news, and flamingos, I guess. Bert said, you want to talk about luck? My special Hey Big Boy was released March 17th, 2020, 2 days into the pandemic. He says everywhere in America, people were being forced to stay inside, so they had to find something to watch. I also believe you manifest your luck by recognizing and acknowledging your luck, even at times when you find yourself unlucky. You need to try and find the luck in it. Bill Lawrence, the guy behind Scrubs and a bunch of other shows, Ted Lasso, Rooster, Shrinking, Bad Monkey, he had a variety profile. I personally am interested in the Scrubs part. He was asked why he doesn't shoot Scrubs in L.A. because he tries to do most of his production in L.A. Variety asked, what's the obstacle at Scrubs? Bill Lawrence said, straight money. We're going to try and get it back here for the third season. Ooh, wait, does that mean we're getting a third season of Scrubs? Awesome. New Scrubs, you know what I meant. It's one of those equations that the money you're given to make the show, and this is conjecture, equals like $3.5 million in LA and $5.6 million in Vancouver. And that's a show that's already very inexpensive. It's a network TV show, and I couldn't afford to make it here in LA. Variety said, you're not day-to-day on Scrubs. How much do you worry about legacy? Bill said, we always argue about this in the writer's room, and I'm the legacy schmegacy guy. The 9th year of Scrubs was supposed to be a spinoff called Med School, and people argue, oh, you ruined the legacy. No, I didn't. You loved the finale of season 8. You don't get to go back in time and not like it now because you've seen the other season that creatively was a spinoff. I just don't want to operate that way. I never want to feel like anything is a money grab, but the writers and the cast came back, and I thought the idea of that was kind of intriguing, so why not give it a shot? I'm never sweating the legacy aspect of it. I didn't hate season 9. And that is your comedy news for today. All right. You shared the show. I'm sure you did, because otherwise I would bust out Amy Schumer singing, and none of us want that. So keep sharing the show, because it's still June. Your phone's in your hand right now. Hit the share button. Send it to somebody. Go, hey, check this out. Jay Leno said some stuff. And then they'll be like, oh, cool. I love the show. And then they'll follow it, and then we don't have to listen to Amy Schumer sing. You can follow the show on Spotify, turn notifications on so you never miss an episode. The comments are also open there, and they are always open in the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast Group. Ryan Hamilton tomorrow. That means Dylan in the Facebook group. He's like sitting in front of the TV right now, waiting for midnight to strike so he can watch Ryan Hamilton the second they put it live. And he's going to be excited because I'm all in on Ryan Hamilton. That last special was fantastic. So, Ryan, don't let me down, buddy. All right, see you tomorrow, guys.